Hopefully.
Weirdo.
Jeff and I often say the same thing at the same time, and it's
because we're in
weird.
sync. It's because we love each other.
That's true.
Even though you're crank.
I'm not cranky. I'm sick. There's a difference. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games
and
board gamey things
and video games today.
Yeah.
Because today we are talking about board games that video gamers will enjoy, love, like, want to try.
Hopefully.
Jeff's a big video gamer. I don't know if you knew that about him. He loves gaming.
Yeah.
Loves it.
My first ever hobby was collecting retro video games.
Yeah. And playing them. I've recently started to get back into retro video game collecting, and it's bringing me so much joy. And so, yeah, I've played a lot of video games. A lot.
Yeah.
In fact, we recently just played Lion King.
Sega Genesis.
Which is an impossible game.
It is literally an impossible game.
Impossible. Then we played Aladdin.
Not as impossible, but we still were not very good.
Still impossible.
They don't make games like they used to.
Holy Toledo.
They're so punishing.
Yeah. Anyways, we wanted to just chat about or give you some suggestions for board games that you might enjoy if you like video games. Okay?
Some of these games are just straight up based on video game IPs. Some of them are games we think have mechanisms that lend well to video game mechanism genre.
The genre, if you will. Okay, let's start with the IPs.
Sure.
And we're gonna get started.
And we're not gonna deep dive these things. We're just this is quick. We've talked about a lot of these games.
We got a dog sitter coming over.
We do have a new dog sitter coming over that needs to meet Juno, and
it's nervous for everybody's nervous.
If this goes well, it's going to change our whole lives.
Exactly. Say things at the same time. Anyways, the first one on our list, we're starting off with a banger. These are IP based, and the first one's Stardew Valley. I think Stardew Valley, I don't play a ton of video games, but I do play Stardew Valley.
Yeah. I think the board game nailed the cooperative way Stardew Valley is played in the video game.
Agreed, yes.
Because a lot of the complaints of this game are people like, I just go off and do my own thing. Yeah, that's what you do in Stardew Co-op. Like, we have a co-op farm with Nick over the Brothers Murph, and I mine.
I fish.
Jamie fishes, and Nick does everything else. Yeah. He spends all of our money.
Yeah, and I buy one hat, and I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, Jamie buys hats, and Nick gets mad that Jamie used our money to get the hats. I just go straight to the mine and mine.
Yeah.
But anyway, the board game is very much that. It's a cooperative experience where you are trying to achieve Grandpa's goals.
Yeah. It's amazing. If you can get a copy and you enjoy Stardew Valley, I think you will love it. The next one on the list is Dwarf Romantic. Now, I put this one on the list because Dwarf Romantic is like a video game of a board game that was then turned into a board game. And I originally played it on the Switch. And it's just a very relaxing kind of video game that you could play, and the board game plays in the exact same way. So, if you're looking for a physical way to dive into Dwarf Romantic, well, you could do that, because the board game is a video game, and there's also a new one called Dwarf Romantic Duel, which I haven't played. But
I've heard not quite as good.
Well, because I think you're maybe against each other?
Yeah, it's competitive. Dwarf Romantic, I think, plays better as a cooperative experience.
Indeed.
It was a very good cooperative experience, and I'm not one that's huge on co-op.
All you gotta do is loop it in.
Next up on the list is a board game I have played, a video game I haven't played. I have the video game, and it's a bit shocking I haven't played it, and that is Deep Rock Galactic.
Oh, I didn't know you haven't played it.
I just haven't had a chance to play it. It's a cooperative game. You need some folks to, play with you and that sort of thing, and it just never really happened. And honestly, I don't know how much interest I have in playing the video game. I know it's very good, and there's no reason for me to feel that way, but it's just, I feel like Helldivers kind of fits that mold for me.
Jeff's been playing a lot of Helldivers.
I play a lot of Helldivers. So Deep Rock Galactic is a board game version of that game. You are cooperatively playing as a bunch of different dwarves with different gun types and abilities, and you're trying to basically get into these scenarios, mining through rocks, completing objectives, and then getting back out. And there's, enemies that are spawning around you, and you're fighting them and killing them, and you're communicating to each other and trying to beat each scenario. It is a scenario-based campaign-ish type game, and it's very, very enjoyable, and one I think you would really like. Kyle does have a copy of it. I would like to try it with you at some point, because I think you'd like it a lot, but it definitely plays well into that cooperative video game experience that the video game has. When
you were explaining it, it sounded like you were talking about a video game and not a board game.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Would Cosmic Frog be a good one? Is that video game?
Yeah, we didn't add it on. Do you want to talk about it now?
Oh, sure.
Cosmic Frog's not on our list, but yeah, that's a pretty good one to add. It's super bizarre, but it reminds me of like a beat 'em up like Battletoads game.
Yeah.
Battletoads is like a massive IP in retro games. I don't think they've done any like major ones recently, but like Battletoads, Double Dragon was a big thing back when I was a kid, and it's just this big beat 'em up. Like it's got this weird theme where you're basically trying to collect treasures, and land masses and stuff, but you're putting it into your gullet. Like you're this cosmic frog and you're eating the world. But like the other frogs can like, depending on where the landmass and treasures get to, it's either like in your throat or in your gullet. Like the other frogs can like reach in and pull the stuff out of your gullet.
That's crazy.
It's bizarre, but it does remind me of like a big punch 'em up, like Streets of Rage, or that like the Double Dragon Battletoads combo, like that sort of thing. It definitely plays like that.
Yeah. Another one is Cuphead. So Cuphead is based off of a video game. They also made a cartoon of it. And it's a real-time like dice checker, dice rolling game where you're trying to it's a boss battle, or you're trying to overcome the bosses, which is exactly what you're trying to do in the video game.
Yeah, and Cuphead is like a notoriously difficult game. Like it's meant to be punishing and difficult, and you have to play each level over and over and over again to catch the patterns.
Yeah.
And the board game is also incredibly difficult.
Yes.
There's a little bit more luck-based in the board game with the RNG, with the dice rolling, and there's like this very chaotic like timer element also in the game, but it's very difficult. But very similar artwork. The app is just a timer, and it adds the Cuphead music and it really gives you the Cuphead vibes. It's one that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, and we've stated that multiple times on this channel.
Yeah, we really like it.
That game is way better than it gets credit for.
It's the best real-time game we've ever played.
Yeah, and I do think if you've played Cuphead, you would appreciate it, if nothing else, for the theme that they've poured into it.
100%. The next one, Jeff?
So we got a chance recently to play... IDW does a series of like video game themed board games. So we got to play Centipede, which is an old Atari game. And it plays exactly like the Atari game does.
Yeah.
One player is playing as the centipede trying to get to the bottom of the screen. And the other person is going around shooting up at the centipede, trying to break up the centipede pieces and, trying to kill the bugs that are getting down to the bottom. It is exactly like Centipede. It is the exact same game. It is transported incredibly well onto a board.
It's just silly fun.
It was silly, light fun.
Yeah. We have a list of games that we haven't played yet, but we wanted to give them a shout out because we either plan on playing them or we've heard really good things. Slay the Spire, obviously.
So we haven't played Slay the Spire. It's probably, I was going to buy it at Gen Con, but it was expensive and I just couldn't justify it. Slay the Spire is based off of a roguelike video game called Slay the Spire, which uses a deck building mechanism, so it already kind of inherently combines board games with video games, similarly to Dwarf Romantic. Similarly to Dwarf Romantic, which was like a video game, board game, video game. Slay the Spire, I think, kind of fits that void as well. I have not played Slay the Spire, but my colleague Nate did play it. I or did buy it or something at Gen Con and was raving about it. Everyone's
Nick and
Mike
Mike
have played it and very
it.
much enjoyed it, and Nick has played the video game. So everyone I know that I trust to have similar opinions to what mine are saying this game is very good and does the video game very good justice. I think it's going to completely blow up because that is an incredibly popular video game IP.
Yeah. Mass Effect is another one that is a huge, I'll let Jeff talk about it, but this is one that we are going to be covering on the channel that we're really excited about. So Mass Effect, Jeff.
Mass Effect is a space-themed, in the video game, is a space-themed, like, campaign story where you create your character and you're basically going through this spacey narrative, trying to, recolonize planets and find cool things and explore. And, there's a very rich story in the world. There's I think Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. Mass Effect 3 is one I've played the most of. I'm really excited to see what they do here because I was recently having some conversations about how ISS Vanguard feels like the Mass Effect of board games. Which, ISS Vanguard could be another one that we could have added to this list, even though we haven't played it. But I'm very excited to see what they do with Mass Effect because it is a massive video game IP with a very, very strong following. So it could go one way or the other. I'm excited to play it. I hope they do it justice, but you will see it up on the channel in the future.
Yes. Another one that we're going to be covering soon is Cyberpunk. It's Cyberpunk 2077.
Correct.
So that is another one that we plan to cover, but we have not played it yet. Jeffrey, what's
Cyberpunk is like this techno, futuristic themed, I guess kind of similar to Grand Theft Auto, where you're basically running around completing objectives and going through missions.
This is going to be an app-based.
Yeah, I also want to be mindful of spoilers in case people haven't played the video game and stuff. But basically, you're adding bionic additions to your body, like that kind of futuristic world. And you're saving people and trying to become someone in this city and uncover some nonsense that's going on, and maybe that associates some past histories that the timeline starts lining up and you're like, oh, these things all kind of make sense. But it's this narrative story again where you're playing as a character and you're uncovering secrets and establishing a timeline of events, essentially. I don't know much about the board game, but again, another one that I'm really hoping they do a good job with.
And last but not least on this list is a game we haven't played, but we did just get, and that is Pac-Man Corridor for those retro gamers out there. This is just like the Pac-Man theme on a board. The Pac-Man's going around eating stuff and ghosts are everywhere.
There is Pac-Man games too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's actual Pac-Man board games.
There definitely is, yeah. So those are the ones that we have based on games. One that just did come to me, though, is Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Which we did cover before. And that's
has it been released yet?
It was on Kickstarter. I think it hasn't been fulfilled yet, but it will be coming out soon.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going on to non-IP based games that give us video game vibes. Okay, the first one we haven't played.
Yep.
The rest of them
we have.
So the first one was Jeff's
this was a me
input,
edition.
so go for it.
Yeah, so this is a game I have not played, but I very, very much want to. It is a tower defense game. And I think inherently any tower defense game in a board game is going to play somewhat similar to a video game. Because it's usually action-based. Even in the video game, it's usually action-based things you're doing. You'll pick units, and it's very board game feeling. Cloud Spire is one that my friends, Kyle and the Table Knots crew, I believe, have played and very much enjoy. And if I could find a decent copy that didn't cost me a fortune, very much one I'd like to add to it.
Who publishes it? Do you know?
Chip Theory. I think this was, Jamie and I were chatting about games and tower defense kept coming up. And this was the one I could think of that I think would do it the most justice just based on the fact that it's Chip Theory and they go above and beyond with the production and all of that sort of thing. So, but I think you fundamentally could pick the majority of tower defense games to fit into this
So I may as well just jump right into another chip theory game, which is Too Many Bones, which we think it plays very similarly to like an adventure style
RPG
video
games,
game,
for sure.
RPG game. We love Too Many Bones. This is one of our all-time favorite games, and it really gives you like the challenge that you often find in a video game. It's got like the dark, kind of like fantasy style theme. You're fighting different types of tyrants and going on an adventure. And Jeff loves a good adventure game.
I do. RPGs are my favorite video game.
Favorite
genre.
RPG video game. Go.
Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger. I don't know what that is. But anyways, Too Many Bones definitely fits in this category.
I'm going to lump these next ones together.
Sure.
If you don't mind.
Go.
But it would be games like Destinies, Oathsworn, Mansions of Madness. They all have a app integration that I think video gamers would like.
Divinus is a new one.
Divinus, which we haven't played.
There's
There's plenty. I mean, honestly, you could throw in Imperial Assault. You could throw in Journeys in Middle Earth into this. Anything that is an adventure-themed game with a app integration, I think would fit in this mold because it gives you that digital narrative experience with choices, immersion. And I think video gamers, I know like some people in the board game hobby bounce off that stuff, and that's totally valid. But I do think if we're catering to video gamers, that digital piece becomes actually somewhat important in kind of bridging that gap. So any of those games mentioned, I think would fit that mold. Return to Dark Tower, I think that's another good one.
Gloomhaven.
It has the app Gloomhaven. I mean, Gloomhaven's been turned into a video game at this point. So, yeah, you can play it on Steam.
Cool.
So, anything like that. There's a bunch of games in that genre that we haven't mentioned here. Pick whatever one makes sense for you.
Totally. Next one is, I think, the closest to a racing video game, and that is Heat. Pedal to the metal, because you're doing gear shifts. You're actually like, I feel like this game feels more like racing than most of the racing games. Like, I know Downforce is, it's not a racing game. Whatever. I think it's a racing game. But Heat, I feel like, kind of like tickles that racing game need. And now, if I'm playing video games, I'll tell you what I like to play. Farming simulators, Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing. I also love to play Mortal Kombat, and I like to play Mario Kart, and that's racing. So that's all I know.
We have not played Dungeon Kart.
We have not played Dungeon Kart yet, but I guarantee you that would be on this list.
Yeah, we have played a similar game called
Bayou Bash,
which is by our friend Kyle.
Yes, actually, that would be a good one.
Yeah, probably another one we could throw out here. Bayou Bash is Mario Kart-esque racing game, which is designed by our friend Kyle over at Weird Games. So another one to check out. But yeah, I think Heat for traditional racing, and then Bayou Bash or possibly Dungeon Kart. Again, we haven't played it. For like that Mario Kart-esque experience. Yeah.
The next one on the list is going to be Kitchen Rush, and this is for fans of a game called Overcooked.
God.
If you enjoy
Which I'm not
those real-time like pressure games, there's another one I play called Good Pizza, Great Pizza. Any of those
Rush MD, I think, is another one.
Yes. So like anything that puts you under a time crunch where you're like filling orders and you're doing these things, Kitchen Rush is a great implementation of that system.
This is actually one I think I have mentioned multiple times. People might disagree with me on this one, but
oh well.
I don't care. That is Revolver Noir. Revolver Noir is a button shot game, so you're playing with 18 cards, and it is a 1v1. You can play it, I think, at higher player counts if you have 2 copies, but let's just say 1v1 shooter. It plays like GoldenEye or Perfect Dark, or, you know, any of those old-timey kind of like first-person shooter games where you're basically going around rooms trying to figure out where the other person is and shoot them. First person to shoot the other person twice wins. That's it. That's the game.
Fun.
Another one we could throw out in this first-person shooter is Adrenaline, a game that we haven't played, even though we set it up to play it and started to play it, and then realized
there were only 2 of us,
and realized it was 3+. But Adrenaline is another one you could throw into this realm as well, but we haven't played it. But Revolver Noir, really, really simple, straightforward, easy to travel with game that invokes that feeling of a first-person shooter.
Yeah, this is a game that every time that I have an opportunity to buy Button Shy games, I buy an extra copy. So we have given away a couple of copies of this. We gave one to David Thompson, actually.
We did.
We like to give this as a gift because every time people play... Oh, I gave one to Sam from Lord of the Board. Every time that people play this, they love it. It's just so cool. The next one is going to be a recommendation for Civilization games. There's a bunch of Civilization games out there
that are actually Civilization themed, but we didn't pick those ones.
Yes, but the one that we have played and that we do enjoy is Through the Ages, a new Civilization, which does have a great app version that you can play, but this is one of those big Civ games that gives you the feeling of a Civilization game, which Jeff also enjoys playing Civilization games.
Sure do.
What's your favorite one?
Of the Civ?
Of Civilization games, sure.
Maybe Civ 6.
Civ 6.
I do have an appreciation for like the OGs, just because again I tend to lean the retro video games. But yeah, probably Civ 6.
Jeff has a favorite video game for everything. What's your favorite first-person shooter?
Of all time?
Yeah.
GoldenEye.
Oh, keep going. Of all time.
Just because of like when that came out, it was game changing. It was
literally.
It literally blew everyone's mind. I mean, you look at it. I've recently gone back and played it. I'm like, oh, this is rough.
Right.
But back then, like, oh my god, the amount of GoldenEye we played.
Do you know one kind of video game that I don't know what's a good example for is like a platformer where you're just like constantly.
That'd be hard to do in a board game, I would think.
It would be. How would you do it? Thunder Road Vendetta is another good.
Yeah, Thunder Road Vendetta would be a good.
There's so many. Okay.
Thunder Road Vendetta, reminds me of like
something where you're like more like monster trucks.
Twisted Metal.
Smashing.
Yeah, like Twisted Metal. It's like Twisted Metal.
I
don't need to say anything more. It's almost kind of like Mario Kart too, just without the cutesy theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one on the list is Wandering Galaxy, but you could really go with most of the Crossroads games in this. This is another one that has an app base, but you're going on an adventure, you are exploring space, you're kind of working with other people, you're completing quests, essentially, and tasks, and doing all of these different things.
Yeah. All right, last up on the list is Under Falling Skies. This is a very...
this is a solo game.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can play it cooperatively.
I don't know.
This is a game very similar to, like, I've only played the Galaga version of this game, but Space Invaders would be the more popular, more known video game version of this game. You can also throw flip ships into here as well, to some degree, as well. So basically, in both flip ships is a dexterity game.
Flicking game. It's amazing.
Under Falling Skies is a dice roller card playing-esque game. But in both, ultimately what you're trying to do is stop the aliens from moving down to the bottom of the board as quick as you can before getting overrun. In both instances, flip ships and Under Falling Skies, you're trying to protect your region, your city, whatever, from that alien invasion coming down, and you're shooting up towards them. In flip ships, you're flicking your ships. In Under Falling Skies, you're rolling dice and assigning those to actions in order to remove aliens from certain columns and rows and that sort of thing so that they don't get down to the bottom of the board. Just like in the video game, where in Space Invaders and Galaga, those aliens are moving down and you're shooting your ship weapons up, you're upgrading them to kill more aliens, and if they get to the bottom, you lose.
This is like arcade style.
Yeah,
right?
Space Invaders was the arcade version. Galaga, I believe, was the NES version, the console version of that game. But Space Invaders would be the late 70s, 80s arcade, super popular version of the game.
Totally. Yeah. So
I love nerding out about old
Jeff
video games.
Loves video games.
Old video games, especially.
I like some old video games.
Like Lion King.
Yeah, but then I played it again and I was like, this is too hard. Anyhoozles, those are some games that we thought would be great for people who love video games, like Jeff. And Jeff would know, because Jeff loves video games.
Yep.
Trust me. What's your favorite fighting game?
Elaborate. There's different types, though. Like, you mean like Mortal Kombat game? Probably Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate Edition. Because it was Super Nintendo and it had all the it had all of the Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 characters in that Ultimate Edition.
Right.
Mortal Kombat 1 only had like 10 characters, etc., etc. This one had all of them. And it also brought in like Noob Saibot, which is Tobias Boone. So Tobias Boone created Mortal Kombat, or he's like one of the designers or something. So he created his own character, but turned his name backwards.
Oh, that's
and it's
funny.
Noob Saibot.
That's funny.
And he's just a shadow character of all the other like ninja type characters, like Scorpion and oh my god, I'm embarrassing myself. Sub-Zero and Rain and all those guys.
Scorpion, Reptile, Sub-Zero. Get over here!
Yeah, there's more though. Later on, there's Rain.
Yeah.
And then there's Ermac.
You know who my favorite character is?
Cabal.
Katana.
Oh yeah, I knew that.
Katana wins.
Jamie loves Katana. Mm-hmm. So when Jamie plays Mortal Kombat, I'm not allowed to do anything.
Jeff knows all the combos.
I'm not allowed to do any of the combos. I'm not allowed to do any of the moves. I just basically all I'm allowed to do
are for button
is
smashing.
Punch and kick.
Yeah, my finishing move is always a kick to the shin.
Yeah.
Finish him.
Low kick to the shin.
Low kick to the shin. Anyways, and Jeff's favorite game of all time is Stardew Valley.
You know, it's really hard for me to compare generations and genres and whatever, to be clear. But in terms of like amount played, I've played Stardew Valley way more than any other game. Mm-hmm. Ever.
And he starts over and he just keeps going.
I do love Stardew Valley. I very much do now enjoy a chill farm sim. Haunted Chocolatier, when that comes out, I'm gonna just disappear for a month.
Yeah. Goodbye. Anyways, that's our video. We'd love to know down in the comments below, what's your favorite video game? What is your favorite board game that you think represents a video game? Well, we would love to know.
I would actually love to know people's favorite video game of all time.
Yeah, put it in the comments. We want to know.
And then I'm ultimately going to end up talking to all of them. Because I've played so many games, I've probably played it. Mm-hmm. And then it'll just divulge into a massive conversation.
Pick and Flick Adventure.
Boogerman is a great game. I wonder if a lot of people have heard about that.
I don't know. They didn't hear about it when we went to that store. He was like, Boogerman.
Yeah. If you're into old video games or like weird video games, look up Boogerman, a pick and flick adventure. It's like each level you go down a toilet. He gets flushed down a toilet. He literally picks his nose and flicks his boogers at the enemies. That's his attack. He farts at them. It's
a little boy's dream.
It really is. You find like plungers as like uppers.
Remember Earthworm Jim?
Yeah, so it plays like Earthworm Jim.
That was one that I used to like.
It's very similar in style to Earthworm Jim.
Right, got it. Well, we have mentioned before, but Jeff and I are running a Kickstarter, and at this point, the Kickstarter page should be up for you to follow.
Unless Jamie screwed something.
Unless I've screwed something up. Who's to say? But the point is, as we mentioned in a previous video, we are raising some funds to build a new studio, to up the quality of our content, get some new equipment, perhaps lighting that isn't torn and falling apart. I can't even move that one anymore because the head on it does this.
I would... Yeah, for how long we've been doing this, the fact that we're still jank...
Equipment's expensive.
...is ridiculous.
The fact that we're still jank is ridiculous. Equipment is expensive, so we are hoping to offset some of those costs.
Yes. But we're not going anywhere. This isn't
an all or nothing kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not an all or nothing. If it doesn't fund, it doesn't fund. We will keep on going in our janky... Setup.
Indeed. But the other things for the Kickstarter, there's going to be a video. There's going to be lots of benefits, ways that you can play games with us, and all of that good stuff. So stay tuned, follow along, and if you would like to back, that would be great. And if you are unable to back for whatever reason, totally fine. All you need to do to support us is subscribe and thumbs up the videos. That's honestly the thing that you can help with the most for any YouTuber. Okay?
Yeah.
That's everything that we have for today. Don't forget to put your favorite video game in the comments below. Join the Discord. We have a video game channel that I have muted, so I won't be in
I didn't know that till right now.
The sports channel and the video game channel, I was like, nah, we're not going in there. Anyways, if you're interested in buying board games like any of the many we mentioned today, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. And for us, that is
the Boardroom Game Cafe.
And if you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. And now we say goodbye. Goodbye.
Later days. Yeah, we're going this time, Bean.
Juno thinks that she's going somewhere. Little does she know, you not going nowhere. You got a visitor coming soon. It's hot. I'm hot.
You're going to have a new friend soon.
All right. Remember last time I wore this shirt and everybody was like, why is her cool dinosaur shirt blurred out? All right.
Yep. That boogies?
This is a flake. It might just be a nose flake. Gattaca!
Well, it's the evening, I become a creature.
Yeah, we become creatures in the evening. We're always like, oh yeah, we can do this thing tonight. And then someone's like, oh, you still on for tonight?
Space
You're
Invaders.
like,